Mm. Okay. All right, let's continue this. Okay.
Wow. It doesn't seem real.
Mm.
Of course. No lights, no power.
Oh, calm down.
Ooh, this place needs some serious cleaning. Or an exorcist.
All right, let's see. Broken shelf, broken jar, and the washing machine. Broken. The dryer never worked to begin with.
Marianne thought dryers were straight up evil. Energy hogs.
I hated hanging drippy laundry. I refused to change for a few weeks once, so I wouldn't have to do it.
Skip. Yep. No. Help. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
We should take down the creepy masks if we don't want to scare the buyers away.
Oh, so now you don't want to scare someone with those masks.
Hey, I just put on the mask and pretended to be a warrior. You were the one who got freaked out by it.
Right.
Not that she ever let me wear him very long. Huh. This bathroom still smells like Marianne.
A good scrub and we'll be rid of that too.
That's a weird
Tried
thing
to
to
bury
say.
this dress in the backyard, but Marianne caught me.
It was a pretty dress.
Yeah, well, we both know pretty was never my thing. Wow. I forgot all about her weird concoctions.
And how she was always testing them on us. Like we were lab rats.
What are we gonna do with all her jewelry?
Well, I'm certainly not gonna wear it.
Donation pile it is, then. Handmade soap. Still here after 10 years. Impressive.
You could say that about the entire house.
Yeah.
Not a total disaster, Ronan.
Mhm.
We were so competitive about who measured taller. Like, we actually had anything to do with it.
And after all that, it ended in a tie.
Yeah, none of that crazy stretching I did made any difference.
Okay.
After all this time, I thought I'd feel more prepared to deal with this mess.
String, glue, duct tape. The holy trinity of house repair.
Marianne loved
Yep.
having something to fix.
But not the part where it got broken. Especially if we were the ones responsible.
I know. I'm just saying she liked to save broken things.
What was she hoping to do with all these jars?
She used to barter for our clothes with homemade jam.
She tried everything to make ends meet.
Well, not everything.
Best mom. You think we ever really believed that, or were we just trying to make her happy?
Either way, it wasn't true.
Yeah.
Guess we never had time to complete the collection.
These came out of one of the prize machines at the Vecchi's store, right?
Yeah, you'd slide the quarters inside on the little tray, and then magic, out pops a sticker.
Mm-hmm.
"2005.
Of course.
Hey, she drew some little hearts here. Oh,
What?
March 7th.
Oh.
Hey, that reminds me. I owe you like 10 birthday gifts.
I think we can let that slide.
What? You don't want me to buy you presents?
You're gonna need your cash to get started. We've got a lifetime for gifts.
Okay. But no presents from you either, then.
Deal.
The last few months are almost all blank. Only a few appointments, most of them canceled.
What kind of appointments?
Hairdressing, I think.
Oh yeah. She did that for a while. After all this time, I thought I'd feel more prepared to deal with this mess.
You already said that, but okay.
How you feeling about being back?
I thought I knew what to expect, but everything keeps catching me by surprise. My nerves are completely raw.
I get it.
How about you? You okay?
I'm honestly not sure how I feel yet. I'm just trying to think of it as an empty house.
Yeah. An empty house full of actual ghosts.
Hopefully they're friendly ghosts.
Mm-hmm. Love a friendly ghost. Okay, yeah, you wait.
She pinched every penny.
Hey Mom, we're sorry the vase got broke. We didn't know you love it so much. We need to be careful and not act up in the window room. Next time we will try and use good judgment. Please forgive us for doing bad things. I'm sorry too. We should be more careful. I'm very sad we made you cry so much. We should play outside instead. I will tell Ollie not to be wild all the time. We weren't going to do it anymore. We are sorry.
What are you reading?
A letter we wrote her. To apologize for breaking that stupid vase, remember?
Bore your kids into good behavior. Great parenting strategy.
Old textbooks. Tessa gave them to us, right?
Yeah, she thought we were gifted.
We were. Just not like she thought. You think she knew we were sharing answers?
We shared for fun. We both knew them all anyway.
I don't remember these.
It's probably one of Mary Ann's unfinished masterpieces.
There's 2 of them. Maybe they were us. In some weird way that only made sense to Mary Ann. Wow. I'm so embarrassed for us. Mini Da Vinci's we were not.
She saved every drawing we ever did.
There's a couple of these I might keep. She took so many pictures.
Yeah. Like she had to document every second of our lives.
You can keep some of them, if you want.
No thanks. I mean, I like the photos of us, but I don't think I can forget that she was the one aiming the camera.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Hang on. I will get to the memory. I just want to look at everything first.
She was trying to save the planet way before Al Gore made it cool.
Has Al Gore ever made anything cool?
Nah.
I guess she was right about one thing. But you can't really blame anyone for not listening to crazy Marianne Ronan.
I didn't realize how much I missed the smell of firewood.
I miss the cold winter nights curled up here, with big mugs of hot cocoa.
Yeah. Marianne was so tired she was usually asleep on the couch.
Ah, that's why it was so nice. No Marianne.
We'd use our voice so we didn't wake her up.
And then we'd be up all night telling stories and watching the fire die. And Marianne was none the wiser.
Mom? About me joining the hockey team?
Right, this one.
Mom!
Sorry, what? Not now. Maybe next year.
But you promised!
Keep whining, and my next year will become never.
Can you cut my hair?
Your hair is fine.
But I want to cut it short. Really short.
What? Look, I'm tired. And I'm busy. Let's talk about this later.
You always say that.
Marianne said no to everything. Made me so pissed.
She was always on edge those last few months.
Yeah, and completely deaf to everything I was telling her I needed.
She pretty much always said no to me, too.
True, but it felt personal with me.
Yeah. It's all down here, right? Besides this.
Marianne's room.
Let's not go in there until we absolutely have to.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, upstairs? Yeah.
Where'd you come from?
Tale of Two Swords.
If you don't come up soon, I'm gonna take whatever I want from our bedroom.
No way! Wait for me!
No, this feels like home.
Whenever we asked for a TV, she'd just bring home a big stack of books.
I think she did us a favor with that one.
You may not agree when we start digging into the HBO back catalog.
We'll see. Hey, the postcard we sent ourselves from Juneau.
Forever alone.
What?
We barely had any friends. We even had to be our own pen pals.
Hello, Allison and Ollie. We are writing from the past. What is it like in the future?
Tyler, do you copy? If we don't move fast, this whole thing is going to melt. Do you copy?
Shh, copy, Allison. Gonna get this thing moving soon. Don't want the Mad Hunter to catch us. Over.
The Mad Hunter. Ugh, he still gives me the creeps. I wish I could forget about him.
Anyway, do you know what's super cool? We took the tramway all the way up. Ollie was scared. Liar. We got some butts, but mommy went to the restaurant and I got them. It was cool. There were a lot of whales on the ferry. No, there wasn't. They were in the water. Stupid. Anyway, here's a postcard to remind you of how awesome we are. Especially me, you know. Alright. What else? Ah, wait, what?
Hey, you. I just found your twin under the house. He's seen better days. Oh,
We never
this one
appreciated
wasn't
this
mine.
view as kids.
Look, it's the game we made, Lusion Tramway.
That game never made any sense.
Didn't stop us from playing all day.
Dude, we were kids. All we needed were rocks and bird feathers.
Figure out who goes first with rock, paper, scissors. Roll the dice and move the number you roll. Pay to the tramway lady to climb up or down the mountain. Take the ledge to slide down the mountain. If you get a 1, you get to roll again. If you get a 1 again, pick a motor card to climb up the mountain with a ledge. If you roll a 6, become the mountain runner for 2 turns. Save from shoot. If you roll a 3, become a bear for 3 turns. Can't use tramway or ledge in any direction. This is like an interesting game. Let's see.
So much for my dream of being a hockey star.
Marianne thought sports were too aggressive, too competitive, and too groupthinky.
How did you convince me to let you put this up?
It was my favorite movie. Back then.
You know, if there's one thing you gotta give Marianne, it's that she let us explore our artistic side.
You should have seen Eddie's face when I tried to repaint his car.
Yeah, I bet Uncle Eddie didn't appreciate your artistic touch.
I'd rather you called him Chief Brown if you're gonna be an ass about it.
Ugh, some of our old toys give me the creeps.
Anything else to look at? No? Cool. Okay. This is the book, right?
Look what I found!
What?
Only our greatest creation, the Book of Goblins.
Seriously? It was in that chest the whole time?
All these stories.
I had ideas for so many more.
Marianne wrote a lot of them.
Yeah. It's one of the only times I remember her being at peace.
Oh, yeah. There's so many pages in this thing. I'm gonna read this at some point, but my God.
Ah, where is it?
You looking for something in particular?
My diary.
You never told me about it.
Yeah. With the way Marianne was, I tried extra hard to keep it a secret. Marianne. Yeah, that day she found out about it.
Yeah.
Mom? Mom! Mom, where is it? What did you do with it?
What now?
I can't find my diary. I know you stole it. Give it back.
Sweetie, whatever I do, it's just for your benefit.
You read it, didn't you? You had no right to do that.
I have the right to do whatever I need to protect my little girl.
I'm not your girl. I hate you.
You will always be my little girl. And no matter how hard you fight me, I'll fight twice as hard to keep you safe.
I don't know how I never saw it coming. She told me right to my face. She was willing to hurt me, to keep me from transitioning.
Tyler, there is no way you could have known she'd go that far.
I want my diary back. Her room was the only place I didn't look.
Okay, but do you need to get it, like, now?
That diary was important to me, Allison. Writing down my thoughts helped me realize who I am.
Well, then let's go find it.
You think her room is still locked?
It always was. I'm not looking forward to going in there.
I know, but we'll have to eventually, and I need it back.
Yeah, I knew there was one out here.
The Ice King finally caught the hag. His furious voice could be heard throughout the forest. For your wickedness, you will be eternally bound to the lake. What? No way. Quiet, let me finish. You will no longer be allowed to leave. Not even under a full moon. The moon hag was imprisoned in the lake, and she never again tried to escape. And then the title. What do you think? Not bad, right? I guess that's okay. But I would have changed the end. What? No way!
The Ice King. I totally forgot about him.
That's because it was dangerous to mention his name. He was too powerful.
Wait, hang on. Oh, there's another. Nothing else. Oh, okay. I hate missing stuff. Okay. Any memories around here?
The diary's probably in Marianne's room. I should go check.
Yeah, I'm going. Calm down. I'm getting there. Chill. Yeah, okay.
Hold up.
What?
Remember this?
Unfortunately.
You must solve my riddle to earn the right to enter the princess's sanctum.
Nothing a good hard shove won't take care of.
I mean, yes, we could brute force it, but it might be kind of fun to finally solve it, right?
We have different definitions of the word fun.
Okay, well, if we break it, we're just gonna have to fix it for the sale. So let's at least try not to. You have the Book of Goblins?
Yep.
Hand it over.
What are you looking for?
The image on the door. It's making me think of a story from the book. One that Marianne wrote.
You have a way better memory than me.
Well, the Book of Goblins was my creation.
and you'll never let anyone forget it.
Mhm.
Here it is. The one about the princess's party.
Yeah. That's the one I'll read
Give it a read.
last.
I think the symbols may represent something in the story.
They do.
First ghost memories, now storybook puzzles. What a weird day.
What a weird childhood.
Touché.
Mhm. Okay, yeah. I have a mouse now. Okay. Cool. Alright. God, this is gonna be like half the video right here, I'm telling you. I completely understand if you skip ahead of this. I do not blame you in the slightest if you just want to skip over this part. The frog earns the right to speak. Once upon a time, in an ancient deep forest, there lived a big frog in a small pond. She was a peaceful creature who spent most of her time eating, swimming, and sleeping. From the morning to the evening, she did everything the smaller frogs did, except she did it bigger. She ate more, she jumped farther, she was smarter, and she made much more noise. Everybody in the forest could hear her loud croaking, and everybody was happy that they could. You see, it was easy to get lost in the forest. But thanks to the frog's loud noises, you could just as easily find your way back to her pond. Maybe it would not have been the same if the big frog had kept singing during the night, but she was much too lazy an animal to stay active after dark. One day, an unknown visitor came to the forest for the first time. It was a young woman dressed in a beautiful gown. She was walking fast through the woods, as if she was running away, and she never looked back. Many eyes spied the princess pass by, but no one dared to help her, for the mad hunter was on her trail. "This is not our business," they said, and we had better look away, for the mad hunter was an unyielding man who loved nothing but hunting down prey for money and glory. Nothing could escape his piercing eye for long. So the princess walked alone, without help, until she was hopelessly lost in the big forest. Exhausted, she pressed on with no idea where she was heading, as the hunter drew ever closer, dodged in his pursuit? I don't know. She continued this way until she heard a loud croaking far off to her left, so clear and loud that the princess immediately made for the source of the noise. A few minutes later, she reached the big frog in the small pond, and the frog looked at her with a gentle smile. "Help me, please," said the princess. "I need a place to rest and hide." "Ribbit," answered the frog, and the princess frowned. "Please, stop making noise. The mad hunter is after me." "Ribbit," said the frog again, so loud that the princess had to cover her ears. The creature began to jump every which way. "What are you doing?" asked the princess. "Stop all that noise, or he will find us." But the frog kept croaking and jumping around her, left and right, up and down. "Ribbit, ribbit," until the princess understood the meaning of all the fuss. Cautiously, the woman jumped on the back of the big animal, and then with a leap, the frog set off away from the pond. Frog jumped so high and so far that even the hunter could not find where the princess had gone. With a few jumps, the princess was out of his piercing eye. A few more, and she had vanished for good. The princess closed her eyes and let her clever mount carry her wherever the creature pleased. Less than an hour later, the big frog had reached the other side of the ancient forest, near the shores of the very deep lake. There she landed without a noise in front of a big wooden house that had been abandoned. "Thank you," said the princess, covering the animal's snout with kisses. "I only wish you could speak so I could have understood what you were trying to do sooner." As she pronounced those words, something incredible happened. The big frog was suddenly able to speak. Her first words startled the princess. "The mad hunter is always at my heels. Now you're safe, and I've had my revenge. You can stay in this house. It has been abandoned for a long time, and no one will look for you here." And then, without looking back, the big frog jumped back to the pond. And this is how the big frog saved the princess and how she earned the right to speak. The Bear and the Princess. Once upon a time, in the ancient and deep forest, the old bear stood on the bank of the river, swiping at salmon on their way to the spawning grounds. Just as he got upon a particularly fat one, he heard a woman shouting for help. He considered simply eating his salmon, but then she screamed again and he lumbered over to investigate. After a short walk, he found the princess clinging to the top of the tree while a wolf snarled and snapped at the base of the tree. Old Bear would normally not get in the middle of such a situation. After all, as a fellow predator, he understood the wolves need to hunt. But when he saw the princess, he was struck by her beauty and he knew he had to help. With a great roar, the bear heaved onto his hind legs, rising to his full height. The wolf snapped and snarled in his direction, but the bear roared again, and the wolf took off into the trees, tail between his legs. The old bear fell back into all fours and stared up at the princess. She regarded him fearfully. "You can come down," he said. "How do I know you didn't save me just so you could eat me yourself?" asked the princess. "I suppose this is a fair question," admitted the old bear, "but I promise I won't eat you." Princess had no reason to trust the old bear except that he had kind eyes, and so she slowly made her way down the tree. When she reached the ground, the bear only watched her, and so she supposed she was not going to be eaten today. "Thank you," she told the old bear. "Of course," he said. Can I walk with you back to your home?" "Of course," said the princess. And so the princess and the old bear walked together through the forest back to the big wooden house. After that day, the princess would occasionally find gifts for the bear: a fresh caught salmon, a handful of ripe berries, a newly bloomed bluebell. One spring, when a sudden thaw flooded the path out of the princess's home, the old bear was there and she rode his back across the river. The old bear began to think that the princess should be his mate. After all, she had no mate and she needed one, and he could keep her warm and provide her a much more suitable den, and catch fish for her and protect her from wolves. She, in turn, would brush out his fur and pick berries without smushing half of them, and scratch that one part of his back he couldn't reach. And with how she took care of the goblins, she would be an excellent mother for his cubs. One day, the old bear came with a ring of spruce and asked the princess to be his bride. "I'm sorry," said the princess. "You are a very good friend, and I appreciate all you've done for me, but I cannot marry you. You're a bear, I'm a princess. It would never work." The old bear was crushed. "Can we still be friends?" he asked. "We will always be friends," said the princess, "but I will never marry you." The old bear and the princess carried on their friendship, and after 1 year he tried to ask her to be his bride, but once again she refused him. This happened 1 year later, and 1 year after that, and then finally the princess said, "Old bear, you are my dear friend, and I appreciate all you have done for me, but I would sooner you have left me to the wolves than marry you, and that is how it will always be. I have my hands full with the 2 goblins who live under my house, and they are all I need." That wounded the old bear deeply, but it was finally enough to stop his proposals. They remained friends, and he continued to give her gifts of fresh salmon and ripe berries and newly bloomed bluebells, but the old bear never again asked the princess to be his bride, much as he might have wanted to. And that is how the princess befriended the old bear and how she refused him. The beaver fixes the house. Once upon a time, in an ancient and deep forest, there lived a wise princess in a big wooden house. One night, a particularly violent storm shook the house. It shook the shingles on the roof and the planks in the walls. It even shook the beams on which the house stood. Blowing the whole thing near to the ground, the princess hid in the closet, fearing the house would come down on her as she slept. In the morning, the house was still standing, but it was badly damaged. The storm had blown shingles off the roof and planks off the walls and even bent a post upon which the house stood. The first 2 things she could fix, but the last concerned her. "What will I do?" despaired the wise princess, for though she knew many things, she did not know how to fix the big wooden house. Just then the old bear came to see if the princess had any trouble in the storm. When he found her nailing planks back into place, he said, "Stop, princess, let me do that for you." "I'm happy to do it," said the princess, "but if you want to help with the roof, you may." When the pair were done with the roof and the walls, they examined the bent support post. "I could throw my body against it," said the old bear. "I am very large." He stretched up onto his hind legs, being sure the princess could appreciate how very large he was, then charged straight at the post. He threw his body against it with an impressive thud. The impact moved the post but too far, and it ended up bent in the other direction. The wise princess decided more precision was needed. She thought then of the very old beaver who kept an excellently crafted den. Perhaps she can help. She went looking for the old beaver and found the industrious animal hard at work slapping down mud on a part of her dam that had been blown apart in the storm. Most of the structure was unharmed because the beaver was very good at building things. The princess knew she had come to the right place. Beaver, she said, my house was damaged in the storm. Would you help me fix it? I believe I could do that, yes, said the old beaver, and she paused at fixing her own den to follow the princess. The very old beaver examined the big wooden house and nodded. It will be an easy fix, she said, and she set about writing the posts with loud stops of her tail. When she was done, the wise princess stroked the beaver's head. Thank you, beaver, she said. The wind blew the shingles off the roof and the planks off the walls and even bent this post. Now, thanks to you, I still have a home. Think nothing of it, said the old beaver, who returned to work on her own den once again. That winter, the very old beaver grew ill, very ill. She was not able to fix her den, nor to gather food. When the princess found out, she set about delivering meals to the beaver. She brought stews of corn and beans and baskets full of bark and twigs from the beaver's favorite aspen. One day, the wise princess noticed that the beaver's den had begun to fall apart. She set about fixing it, and though she was not as talented as the very old beaver, the fix kept the creature warm and dry. Thank you, said the very old beaver. Of course, said the princess. You helped me when the storm blew my house near to the ground. Thanks to you, I still have a home, and I am happy to do the same. The princess continued to nurse the old beaver until the day she came to the dam and the forest was still. No birds sang, no branches rustled, no small things skittered within the underbrush. Oh, said the princess, sadly staring at the dam, for she knew the old beaver had passed on. Goodbye, my friend. And that is how the very old beaver saved the big wooden house, and how the wise princess repaid her kindness. Oh, princess part. Okay, you last. The Goblins in the Ice Cave. Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, the crafty goblins were playing near the glacier when they discovered a hole in the ice. They crept through a gradually widening passage and found themselves inside a spacious ice cave. Light spilled down the unadulterating blue-white walls in a way that made them look like electric waterfalls. And a column made up of hundreds of icicles stood in the center. This was the time before the goblins had settled beneath the old wooden house, and they had nowhere to live. Perhaps we could live here, they said excitedly. Moments later, the sound of stomping feet interrupted their play, and they realized that perhaps someone already lived there. They hid behind a boulder to wait and see who was coming. The old bear sauntered into the cave, shaking powdery snow from his coat. He let out a giant yawn and lay down in the corner of a pile of tree boughs, snoring within seconds. When they were sure he was deep asleep, the goblins conspired to claim the cave for themselves. They chipped away at the glacier until they had filled a basket full of ice, then hid once more behind their boulder and started tossing chunks of it on the sleeping bear. Now Old Bear was not the smartest creature in the forest, so when he woke up covered in ice, he roared, "My cave is collapsing!" Then he lumbered to his feet and ran outside before the whole thing could come down on top of him. The goblins crept out after him and did a loop before coming back to find him sitting outside. "What happened?" they asked. "My cave, it's collapsing!" bemoaned the old bear, "and it's time for me to hibernate. Where will I stay for the winter?" It had not occurred to the goblins that the old bear had settled in for the winter, and they felt a little bad. They did not want the old bear to know what they had done, so instead they offered to help him find a new den. Together they searched. They inspected cavernous stone and hollowed trees and deeply pocketed knolls. Nothing they found was as beautiful as the ice cave, but the old bear settled on a packed earthen hollow that would keep him warm and dry for his long sleep. "Good night," he yawned, and the goblins gleefully returned to their new home. In the spring, the old bear woke and went for the nice walk to stretch his legs. His path took him right up to his old cave, where he heard the curious sound of laughter. Making his way inside, he was surprised to find that his cave was intact, and the goblins were inside playing a game. "What is this?" growled the old bear. The goblins stopped playing and looked ashamed. "We're sorry, old bear," said the goblins, "but we had nowhere to live, and it's just so beautiful. We didn't realize you were about to hibernate, and then we couldn't bear to tell you what we'd done." The old bear was angry at the trick, but the young goblins looked appropriately ashamed, and so he said, "Come with me." He led the crafty goblins to the hollow in which he had hibernated for a winter. "You two can have this spot," he said. "And look, someone had built a big wooden house right over top of it." "No one lives there now," said the old bear, "but one day maybe someone will." The earthen hollow was not as beautiful as the ice cave, but it kept the goblins warm and dry, and they were excited that someday they might have someone living overhead. Someone who baked cakes and tolerated their mischief. And that is the story of how the crafty goblins tried to steal the cave of the old bear and how they got their own instead. The Princess and the Two Thieves. Once upon a time, in an ancient and deep forest, there lived a wise princess in a big wooden house. The house was built from the strong wood of the forest, and it kept the princess warm and safe. The princess was not a native of the forest, but she never spoke about where she had come from, for it made her cry. She did not have many friends, but that was how she liked it. The forest was big and deep, and many paths led to her house, but not many visitors passed by. The princess was happy to be left alone in the big house in the deep forest. She knew that the forest would provide for her, but that its generosity had to be respected. So she only took what she needed, and for a long time life was just fine for the princess in the big wooden house. One winter day, when snow blanketed the earth and ice bent the trees low, the wise princess realized that food was disappearing from her house. It was not much at first, only a few fruits and nuts and eggs vanishing during the night. Maybe it's the birds, she said, or the mice. And for a time, the princess was okay with losing some food, for the winter was long and little creatures needed to eat too. But then small items started to disappear as well, spoons and plates, forks, knives, and blankets. It was as if every time she was in one part of the house, something disappeared in another room. That can't be birds or mice, said the princess. I think I have a thief. So she went outside to look for the traces in the snow and noises in the wind, but there was nothing to be found nor to be heard. That's strange, said the princess. Maybe the thief is hiding inside my house. For many days she hunted, looking behind the curtains and under the bed, in the attic and the chimney, behind the poles and under the carpets, but she found nothing. And as she searched, food kept disappearing night after night. I will make a cake, frowned the princess, a big cake with every egg and fruit and nut I will have, so that I only have one thing to keep my eye on. She spent the whole day making the cake and using everything she had left. The cake she made was so big she could hardly carry it. If I manage to protect the cake, I'll be able to survive the long winter, she said. So she added a log to the oven, and she kept the big cake safe inside. But the next morning the log had been opened and the cake had disappeared. At first the princess cried, because the cake was the last of her food until the snow melted. But then she noticed two tiny trails of feet in the spilled flour, and she followed the tracks to a hidden latch in the floorboards. This is how the princess realized that the two tiny thieves were living under the wooden house right below her feet. The princess meets two friends. Once upon a time, in an ancient and deep forest, there lived a wise princess in a big wooden house. She had been living alone just fine for a very long time, until the day she noticed food and small items were disappearing from her house. The thefts went on and on until the day her last cake, which had been made with the last of her eggs, the last of her fruit, the last of her nuts, and the last of her flour. Well, that last cake was stolen too, and all she found at the scene of the crime were two trails of tiny feet in the spilled flour leading to a hidden latch in the floorboards. The princess did not try to open the latch, nor did she try to break it. She was too tired and too hungry. All she could do was cry in silence, alone in the big wooden house hidden in the ancient deep forest. She cried for a long time until evening arrived, and then she cried some more. Suddenly a tiny voice came from under the house. What is that noise you make? It asked. We do not like it, not one bit. I'm crying because you two are mean to me. Whoever you are, you stole all the food I had, and I will starve you stole all the food I had, and I will starve before the end of this long and cold winter. The hatch opened just a peep, revealing two frowning faces peering out from the darkness of their hideout. But we are hungry too, said the second creature. We've been hiding in this cave for a long time, and now the winter is upon us, and we need food. The princess dried her eyes and smiled at the two goblins. If we were friends, we could share the cake you stole from me. The two thieves spat and smirked. A friend? What is that? The princess frowned, for she realized that the two tiny thieves were as lonely as she was. A friend is someone you love and care for, someone you would never hurt. We never hurt each other and we care for each other, said the goblins at the same time. Does that mean we are friends? Yes, that's exactly it. And if we were friends, you would not hurt us? Of course not. Friends trust each other. The goblins shook their little heads. We trust no one, for no one trusts us. Their words made the princess cry again, for now she understood that the two creatures were not only as lonely as she was here in the big wooden house, but they had been lonely since they were born. You are making that noise again, frowned the goblins. Please stop. Please stop that, for it makes us feel unhappy. Are you a witch? Is this some sort of magic? It makes you unhappy because we are friends, said the princess. But we don't know you and you're not like us. Sometimes friendship comes right away, even between people who are very different. Does it mean we can't steal from you anymore? Yes, but that's what we do. We are the crafty goblins who live under your house. Well, then maybe we could arrange something. Is that what friends do? Yes, I believe they do. And this is how the princess met the crafty goblins and how they became friends. I forgot how long this is. Okay, I'm gonna finish reading the first half of this and then go back to the party one and unlock this. And then I'll read the second part in the next episode. The Bear's Big Paws. Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, the old bear was out looking for a snack when he spied a bee's nest in a hole high up a tree. The tree was dry and brittle, but the old bear was hungry, and so he made his way to the nest, but when he got there, he found his giant paw couldn't fit in the hole. Determined, he tried to force it inside, but the effort caused the branch below him to snap. The old bear tumbled to the ground and landed with a painful oomph. He lay there, stunned from the fall, when all of a sudden something bit him. The bite was followed by another and another and another. Carpenter ants were swarming up his legs. You see, they had been nesting in the branch and they did not appreciate being forced from their home. The old bear howled and jumped from his feet to dance as he swatted and snapped, but his big paws couldn't do much about the tiny ants. When he finally managed to squish or scare them all off, the old bear heard someone laughing. The crafty goblins had seen the whole thing. Clumsy old bear, they teased. Those big old paws aren't good at anything, are they? Then they sped off, leaving old bear's pride hurting just as bad as his body. He lumbered through the forest, hungry and sad. Maybe I am just a clumsy old bear, he moaned. My big old paws aren't good for anything. At that moment, the old bear heard a sad, sad noise. What's that? He wondered, and he followed the sound to where a mountain goat stood atop a boulder high up a hillside. Old bear! She cried. Old bear, please help! My kid is stuck! Sure enough, a tiny mountain goat was trapped inside the stones, bleeding sadly. The old bear began to walk toward them and then stopped. I'm probably just going to make it worse, he thought. Then the goat started to bleat even louder, and the old bear put away his fear. He climbed up to where the goat was trapped, careful of where he stepped and trying not to think of how he had only just fallen out of a tree. Every now and then the ground would slide away from under his feet, but he kept going. When he reached the goat kid, he put his mighty paws against one of the boulders and began to push. At first it didn't budge, but he dug in and pushed even harder. Finally the boulder parted just wide enough to let the kid scramble to safety. The old bear released the boulder and let out a roar of triumph. Roar! Thank you, gushed the mama goat, and she and her kid bounded off up the mountain. The old bear watched them go with a smile and then made his way back down the hillside, wiggling his rump in triumph as he went. To his surprise, the crafty goblins waited at the bottom of the hill. We saw the whole thing, they said. You were wrong. You aren't just a clumsy old bear, and your paws are good for helping others. The old bear forgave the goblins for doubting him, because he had doubted himself just as much. He never again thought his paws weren't good for anything, even though sometimes they weren't always great at everything. And that was how the old bear proved that his heart was bigger than his paws. The moon hag loses her name. Once upon a time, in a deep and cold lake in an ancient forest, there lived an old seal who was a powerful witch in disguise. She was mean and cruel. She liked nothing more than to swim in the deepest part of the lake, where the light was dim under the ice, admiring the corpses of the many victims she took into the water over the years. She was so hateful that only the cold water of the lake could keep her cool. Her most prized possession was a tin mirror sold to her by the secret keeper, and she kept it in a chest at the bottom of the lake. It was no ordinary mirror. If you looked in it, you would see a reflection of who you truly desired to be, and for 1 hour the mirror granted you the power to appear as that person. Whenever a boat or an unwise traveler approached the edge of the lake, the old witch used the mirror to appear as the beautiful woman she always wished to be. And with this disguise, she lured the unfortunate sailor or wanderer into the depth and cold water. There the old seal forced the victim to become her servant, and when she was done with them, they joined her collection of corpses in the deepest part of the lake. One day, when the old seal swam down to her den under the lake, she discovered that someone had stolen her mirror. The chest where she kept her most prized possession had been forced open, and now it was empty. Who would have committed such a crime? Who had dared to deprive her of her only treasure? The old seal, when mad in her anger, heated the water of the lake around her. For a time, everyone was happy with the temperature change, for the weather suddenly became sweeter and the air warmer. But after a few weeks, things started to get ugly. First, the fish began to die off, for they could not live in the hot water. Then the glaciers began to melt, and the water of the lake rose and spilled out, flooding the forests and the meadows. And finally, the weather grew so hot that even the Ice King himself was awakened from his long sleep and decided to see what was going on. In the deepest part of the lake, he found the Mad Witch steaming among the corpses, her victims. Steaming among the corpses of her victims, so angry that the lake was about to boil. It only took a few minutes for the Ice King to understand what had happened and demand that the thieves present themselves before him. The thieves had no choice but to appear, for no one dared to disobey the Ice King. The crafty goblins presented themselves, mirror in hand. "Why did you steal the mirror?" asked the king. "We were curious. We just wanted to see what we really wanted to be," apologized the goblins. "But the stupid thing is broken. We look the same." "That does not mean it did not work," smiled the Ice King. "Now apologize and give the mirror to me, for it is too powerful to be used by thieves or a mean old hag." The goblins apologized and gave the mirror to the Ice King. But the old seal was still angry. "And what about me?" she asked. I have been deprived of my treasure, and I demand compensation." The Ice King frowned as he spoke again. "Old hag, you are mean and cruel, but I concede you have been wronged. For now you will be allowed to leave the lake and walk the earth as the hag you really are, but only when the moon is full, and you, goblins, you had better stay away from the lake, for I won't protect you from the moon hag's wrath. And this is how the two goblins forced the moon hag to change her name. The goblins tricked the manhunter. Once upon a time, in a castle just beyond the ancient and deep forest, the manhunter was punished by the gold lady for failing to return with the wise princess. For your failure," said the gold lady, "I will take your left hand. You will return to the ancient deep forest and hunt the wise princess. If you can bring her back, I will return your hand to you. Fail again, and I will take your right hand." The Mad Hunter could hunt with just his right hand, but if he lost both his hands, he would never be able to hunt again and would no longer be a Mad Hunter, but only a madman. So the Mad Hunter returned to the ancient and deep forest, searching with his piercing eye for the wise princess. The crafty goblins were out searching for mischief when they saw the Mad Hunter on the prowl. "We cannot let him find the princess," said the goblins, and so they devised a plan. It was wash day, and the princess had hung her beautiful gown out to dry. They stole it from the line and stuffed it full of straw, and then returned to where the Mad Hunter was scouring the paths of the forest. As the Mad Hunter turned down a path that would have led him to the big wooden house, the goblins danced the straw princess in and out of view in the opposite direction. The ruse worked. The hunter fixed his piercing eye on them and followed. Through the day and into the night, they led him away from the true princess. As night fell, the crafty goblins realized the error of their plan. The Mad Hunter was now hunting them. If he caught them, he would not be kind, so they put their heads together to come up with a plan. It did not take them long to realize where they should go. They led the Mad Hunter to the edge of the deep and icy lake, and when he came into view, they weighed the fake princess down with stones and dropped her into the frigid water, careful not to plunge into the depths themselves, lest the moon hag take her revenge on them. The Mad Hunter removed his clothing and dove in after the fake princess. He followed the shape of the sinking princess deep into the chilly water, down below where ice covered the lake's surface. Finally, he caught her. But when he spun her toward him, he realized she had no head and that her body was stuffed with straw. And then he felt a slippery fin brush his shoulder as the moon hag loomed overhead. The next morning, the princess went to retrieve her gown from the clothing line and found that it was gone. She immediately suspected the goblins of mischief and called, "Goblins, did you take my gown?" The goblins emerged from their cave and nodded sadly. "Now what will I wear?" asked the princess, sad and angry that she had lost her only dress. "Let us explain," said the goblins. So they told the princess the story of the Mad Hunter, and then they produced his clothing, which was a bit large for the princess, but much warmer than her beautiful gown. She immediately forgave them. "Thank you, my friends," she said, "for rescuing me and for this clothing, which will keep me much warmer in the winter than my beautiful gown." The Mad Hunter was forced to remain below the lake with the moon hag, but she did not kill him because even reduced to just one hand, he was too useful as too useful a servant. Lo, he plotted the day he would emerge to once again hunt the wise princess and earn back his left hand. And this is the story of how the crafty goblins rescued the wise princess from the Mad Hunter. Okay, what's, okay. This one, and then open the door, and then that'll most likely be the end of the episode. The Princess's Party. Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, the princess was melancholy, because it was the 1-year anniversary of when she had run away from home. Sensing her sadness, her forest friends showed up at her door. They were headed by the pelican, pious and attentive, and organized by the moose, stalwart and foresighted. The old bear was there with his claws so sharp, as well as the big frog prattling away. Even the haunting muskrat, who almost never had time for anyone, had come. The bear invited her to ride on his back, promising no wolf would harry her path. And then the animals led her to a fairy glen, where a fabulous party had been prepared. There was a buffet of seafood the pelican had served from her never-emptying beak. The air was filled with winking fairy lights, the moose had arranged after clouds filled the sky, and the gregarious frog midst of fizzing drinks. Only the muskrat had done nothing in particular, mooching off everyone else's hard work. The princess had a very good time at her party, such a good time that she forgot to say thank you to any of her friends. Noticing this, the fairies devised a bit of mischief. When the princess went to open her gifts, she found 3 identical boxes at the edge of the glen. Puzzled, she turned back and gasped. The entire party had vanished. "Because you have taken your friends for granted," called the naughty fairies, "we have hidden them from you. But we like games. Guess who has given you each of these presents, and you will get your friends back." The princess opened the first box. Inside there was a torch, which was lit, which, when lit, revealed the truth. Said the princess. "Someone wants to make sure I don't get lost in the woods when it's dark, and that I always see right from wrong. Which of my friends would give me a gift like that?" She opened the second box and said there was a magic sword which would leap right out of the bear's hands to defend them. Said the princess. "Someone wants to make sure I'm protected if I'm ever under threat. Which of my friends would give me a gift like that?" She opened the third box. Inside there was a bag of coins that always provided money if it was for something the bearer truly needed. Said the princess. "Someone wants to make sure I have money to buy food when I'm hungry and clothes when I'm cold. Which of my friends would give me a gift like that?" The princess thought about her friends, and then she smiled certainly. "Fairies," she said, "I have been thoughtless, but I appreciate all that my friends have given me and all that they have done for me." She gave her answers, and the vet's fairies were forced to restore the party in a flash of colorful light. One by one, she gave the animals a hug and thanked them for the presents, the party, and all they had done to help since she moved into the forest. And that is how the princess celebrated her first anniversary in the woods. Oh, fudge buckets. Okay, I feel like second's bear, third's beaver. What the first one be? Okay. Yeah, bear. And that's, wait, no, there's no beaver. Crap. Yeah, let's do that one. No? Okay. Well, it's just a guessing game. Okay, right now. Ah, I hate these kinds of puzzles. I'll get it eventually. Okay. Come on. Yeah. Ah, there we go. I knew the second one was the bear. You knew it.
And boom, we're in.
After so many years, I expected this to feel more, you know, like a win.
Speak for yourself. I'm the one who solved the riddle.
Why do I feel like you're not gonna let me forget that? Where do you think we should start looking?
I don't know. Where in this mess would she stash someone else's personal thoughts?
Alright. As much as I'd love to continue this, the reading really took up my time. So, I'm gonna have to end it here. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Join the Discord server with the link in the description. And, See y'all next time. Bye.